Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back once more here at it for some FaceIt League action. It's been a fantastic week of matches so far. We had ourselves a brilliant Map 5 last night, and hey, Dexatron, today might not be too much different. We got a match between Emote down mid and Iliad Artemis, two teams that have already been put to the test, and both have already come out successfully.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're looking for if you're these teams. Win that first game. Hope you're going to be able to carry that momentum into your next game. However, it's going to be very difficult when both those teams come in with the same momentum here. Emo down mid and Iliad Artemis. Iliad Artemis, I believe, was originally under SHU or Siena Heights University up until about maybe about a week before the FaceIt Masters season started here, where they were picked up by Iliad. So congratulations to them there. But I mean, right now, again, this is a very, very good team. You just look at the names on it, Hunter. We recognize a couple of these names: the Duck on Quack, Maverick, Industrial. These are all players that we recognize. But Emote down mid on the other side is one of those fun teams. I mean, they have a lot of great players over there, and ones that you truly do expect that at certain points might just be able to take over in a lobby.
Yeah, you really do think so in a situation like this. I'm curious to see how things are going to go down in a situation like this. But of course, Dex, one thing we're seeing right now is that we're starting to get things settled for this first map taken care of. Obviously, Control first map type, Basan, Ilios, Oasis are the three picks. And kind of said to yourself earlier, the map we were kind of gravitating towards was Oasis. And lo and behold, Oasis is going to be the pick. But when it comes to bans, normally the first round is usually relatively predictable as to what teams will normally pick.
Yeah, and we kind of always see. Yesterday we were throwing a little bit of a curveball when we saw the Tracer and Orisa be banned out, but I feel like Orisa's still a hero we could see. I feel like Juno is another one that we most likely could expect to see here. It looks like Iliad Artemis might be getting the first ban here since they are attacking first, but this is a control map, so there is no attack. But I mean, I feel like Juno's always a smart ban out, a lot of value. Same thing with Kiriko. I could always see them, but no, Freya actually being banned out here first. And Hunter, we didn't see that ban come out until map 5 yesterday.
Yeah, we really didn't, but to be fair, it had a different level of threat once it came out, because to be fair, I think it was banned at the perfect time for Midori to kind of go in and have that impact, because, hey, they specifically have somebody in who was just killing it on the Freya, so maybe you just want to get rid of this right here, right now, and, hey, I don't hate the option. Maybe something you want later down the line, but I'm curious what the response is going to be, because now it has to be either a tank or support, and obviously I think there are a couple of key picks you probably don't want to use this early on.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I say, like, Juno might be the safest kind of bet to make here with a first ban. Because normally a lot of the time, if you feel like you have a good Juno, you probably expect the other team to have a good Juno. So you might see that ban come up from the other team later down the line. But I mean, tanks are very fun, especially on this map. You could see a wide variety of tanks being played. We saw Malga, we saw Ramatra, we saw a little bit of Wrecking Ball yesterday. However, it seemed like the Ramatra was winning out in most cases. But I mean, the second pick or second ban was put in. We don't know what it was. There's just a lot of options that could be banned out here.
Yeah, there really is. Obviously, we talk about the Juno being a band that's pretty prevalent. I think a scenario like this, maybe a tank you don't want to deal with. Maybe you have a particular strategy where you don't want to walk into something like the Hazard that has gotten recent buffs and honestly is in a relatively good state now in terms of their strength. But it's not something you want to walk into, because we saw yesterday when the Hazard came out in Hollywood, I mean, the Tracer was pretty much getting one shot out there. It's not really something you'll want to have to deal with, if you don't want to. So it's really just going to come down to what these teams favor. And I think at this stage of the game, this early on, I think you'd be willing to take care of picking somebody that's just going to make what you want to do and what you want to test out so much easier to do.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, let's just remember what happened in our series last night.
Oh yeah.
We saw a couple maps where it should have ended a lot sooner, but one team always was able to keep it alive, and they did a really, really good job. Didn't end up coming out on top. Midori was the one that won that one there. But again, you just see some hero plays come out here. That's exactly what you kind of need this early on in the season, when teams are still trying to necessarily learn what's the kind of best way to play as a team here. We're still very early on. Yeah, they've been scrimming a lot here, but once you get into an actual game, it's a little bit different than having that scrim where, you're trying stuff out here and there. You're trying to all put it together here very, very quickly. Maybe in a week or two, as we get into games 4 and 5, you would really expect every team to kind of know what they're doing going into every kind of situation.
Yeah, you would really think that at this stage of the game. I mean, we've gotten so far into the point of doing things like hero bans that teams have started kind of playing around it in a sense. Some teams will even practice specific maps not using characters because they feel like teams are going to be smart enough to simply ban the character once they've seen the utility throughout and realizing, oh, this map right here is going to be best case scenario for this hero. And teams already have kind of a plan B outside of that. So it's good that teams have gotten to that fashion where that seems to be the option that they are expending. Because at this stage here in the Master Tier, that is something you need to be doing. Because if you're caught without a plan B, it can be really hard to bounce back sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, one thing, if you did pay attention to the Masters here, at least last night, no matter who you were watching, if someone was streaming a series, pretty good chance you had a map 5 on your hands here. And I would not be surprised if we see the same thing here tonight between these two teams. Again, like we already mentioned, 1-0 on the season. You expect them to really have a good showing here, and map 5 wouldn't necessarily surprise me between these two, especially considering, like we already mentioned, they won their first games.
Yeah, they did so. Clearly already proven tested teams, and if something that we have seen throughout a lot of these squads here so far is a lot of them are very close to each other. I mean, I think we had a minimum of, 5 different games that went to map 5 in the first round, which is an insane number, by the way.
Insane.
Jesus.
It kind of tells you how competitive this Master Tier is going to be. Remember, these are the teams that are playing for those promotion spots here in the NA region. So everyone's trying just to put on a good show here early on. So if they take a loss maybe later on in the season, it's not necessarily going to hurt them as much. But hey, starting off fast and strong is always a great way to start, in my opinion.
Yeah, it really is in the situation right here, and obviously want to try to start fast as well. Just waiting on one person to get into lobby real quick, getting everything sorted away here, because, obviously... looks like they have indeed entered. So Dex, we're here to get this thing started, and I'm curious what our opening submap is going to be, because Oasis, one of those points where each kind of submap kind of has a bit of its specialty to it. But as we're going to move over here, it looks like we'll be starting out on City Center, which has happened the past 3 times that I've casted this map now.
Yeah, this normally seems to be the map that we start out on the most, or at least that I start out on the most. University would probably be next here, but I mean, right now you kind of see the lineups for each side at the moment, and it's going to be really interesting to see what they come out with here, because this is a good mixture of, hey, we want to play dive, we want to control the high grounds, maybe a Winston, a Hazard, a Diva could be potential here, Brawl is an option here, Poke is an option here as well. Maybe not as strong as some of the other compositions, but it is certainly playable. But coming out of the gate right now, you do see... I believe that Iliad Artemis here coming out with the strong dive composition here with the Diva. And on the other side, it is Emote down mid, at least teasing us with the ball composition. But right now, I like what Pain Carry's coming out here with that Sombra. The Sombra was a big difference maker in our series last night, to the point where Midori, when it was banned out, they did not look the same. And when we saw that Sombra come in on 2 or 3 different hero or players, it still provided the same amount of value here. And that is going to be something that a Cardi fan's going to have to deal with here early on.
Yeah, definitely going to have to be something to do right here. Painkare already having some semblance of the fact that there's going to be a ball going down right now, but Cardi fan can be backing out, taking a ton of damage early on here right now. It's going to be a bit of a struggle to make this ball work right here, as you're going to see try to escape right now is Marduk, who ends up taken care of first and foremost right here, but Cardi doing a really good job of playing around corners, make it so even if they do get hacked, they have a get-out-of-jail-free card, and for this first fight, at the very least, it's worked out well.
Yeah, and especially just losing those 2 members early on. Iliad Artemis just didn't really have enough to keep them going here. And I mean, right now, Cardifan's doing a really good job. And same thing, though, the rest of the team is just always finding out where Pain Carry is here. That's the one person you want to be trying to get rid of early, or just get eyes on early here if you're Emote down mid. But great start off here for them now. But Pauline gonna be able to find Mardox again. That's not how you want this to go.
Yeah, fool you once, shame on me. Fool you twice, well... I'm not saying it correctly, but that doesn't quite matter, ladies and gentlemen. This fight is still very much alive, 5v4. Honestly, they could still regroup in this situation as well to make something happen. Mega Health Pack, though, going to get Cardifan back to full HP right now. Still hanging around 30% and counting, but everything's kind of come to the standstill for a moment here.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, Danny is actually doing a good job kind of keeping the positioning here for Emote down mid and really forcing Iliad Artemis into spots where they just don't want to be. Already, Duck and Quack has to use that recall to keep themselves alive, but look at where everyone is for Iliad Artemis.
Yeah, and you would have 100% lost Marduk even sooner if it weren't for that hack onto Cardifan, and now the door is starting to open just slightly for that, but Paincarrot going down, I don't see a realm in which they're able to come back here, and unfortunately for Maverick, they're going to use the bomb here, which is a curious decision, especially if they get remeked again.
And there's more than a better chance here. They get remeked, so that was all for a loss right there, and a huge stagger that's going to come out here on Iliad Artemis. And right now, like I said, coming in this map, I thought that Pain Carry Sombra was going to have to be a huge difference maker for them. It just struggled so far as Gorilla finds Maverick right there. So that stagger lasts forever now, almost into final fight territory.
Yeah, and Pulse Bomb is going to miss, unfortunately, and unfortunately the team is falling apart around them. Everyone gonna get taken care of, and now it's a struggle about getting a touch right now. As Danny's gonna move in super far in.
Don't blame them. They have a barrage. All you have to do is wait for Maverick to get out there. He's gonna pop the barrage here early on and actually force Maverick to go after them here. I mean, you see Beat coming out there from Industrial, but are they gonna be able to get a touch here? Looks like they're gonna be able to. You might have a chance here now if you're Iliad.
Oh, you 100% have a chance of the situation right here, but it's 44 once more. Gonna see all the mines, gonna be creating a lot of separation. Paincarrot would love to hold on to the CMP if possible right here. It's looking very likely for the timing right now. A nice bit of stall being given by Cardifan right now as somehow Quack on Duck gets taken out by the mines, and it looks like the flip's gonna come through, but the fight's still gonna keep going. Is what?
Oh no! No! That is a costly mistake there for Pain Carry. They had that EMP ready to go. They're gonna have to give up the point now for free, and now you're in final fight territory yet again.
Yeah, I'm gonna get hacked as Maverick. Been hanging around and gonna get booped around, gonna get a retouch just barely with a little bit of help right here. Paincarrot gonna hit the EMP. It's gonna catch onto one, but it's still just a trade out, and now things beginning to fall apart on the defense here. It's a 3v2 as things are right now, but Cardifan still keeping things going. 2v2, the D-Mech causes them to not be able to retouch, so it's a good effort overall. Play with a little bit of fire there, but gonna take the first round away in relative dominant fashion.
Yeah, honestly, just like you said, dominant fashion all around right there. The only time that really Iliad Artemis looked like they had a fighting chance in that map was when basically you saw, I believe it was Danny, just kind of throw out a barrage and sacrifice himself, hoping that maybe they would get one person or just get enough focus on them so they wouldn't get another touch in. But it just didn't end up working out for them there, and that was the only time where Emote down mid just did not look like the better team. Other than that, I mean, like I said, coming in that map, I thought Paincarrot needed to be really, really good on that Sombra, hacking out Cardifan just to really slow them down, because I've always said it with Wrecking Ball, if you struggle to shut down the Wrecking Ball, you're going to struggle to shut down the rest of the team. Well, Cardifan, that entire first map, only died one time. Actually, hell, the only person who died twice for Emote down mid that first map was Julia.
Yeah, really was the case in the situation right here as Cardifan more than happy to simply stay out of the fight for the time being, take their reprieve, wait for the right moment to be able to come in right here, but not having to deal with a Sombra this time as both sides not going to use it. Pauline, Rub scenario, eventually going to get taken care of. Could be difficult to keep this sane, even though Cardifan been doing a really good job of simply hanging around and being able to get out when need be, but eventually it's going to flip over. So this time, good start for Iliad Artemis.
Yeah, I mean, getting rid of Pauline right there was huge, because remember how many times Mardo kept on dying first last point? That really did put Iliad Artemis behind the 8 ball a lot early on here. But right now, I like that they're actually keeping a little bit more attention onto Danny, who was a big problem for them last map.
Yeah, and now all of Artemis kind of thrown into a corner right here. Not the most ideal thing you want against the ball right here, as they seem to be chasing a lot into the back line. You can just see right now the fact that Gorilla's just kind of hanging around back there, taking a ton of attention away. A Duck on Quack getting super low, but Danny has managed to take care of one, just hanging around, and unfortunately, the rest of the squad potentially might be too far behind right here, but that's going to be a good defensive matrix to stop things. The Beat invested as well, Dex. They want to go all in to win this fight, and it looks like it may have worked out for him.
Yeah, I mean, if you can find one more kill here, and that's the one kill you need right there, honestly, on Gorilla, who's been playing a really, really good map here on this Moira, which you don't really see that often. I feel like it was a little bit of a slow kind of learning point there for Iliad Artemis, but this has been a real good turnaround map from the Beat coming out from Industrial, just kind of clean up that fight. You still have 3-4 ultimates coming into this next engagement, but same thing could be said here for Emote down mid, who Julia has that pulse bomb ready to go. I would not be surprised if they're looking to stick it onto someone in that back line.
Yeah, I would not be in the slightest either. Gonna go and get the copy barely in time. Gonna try to find something with the copy. It is taking a lot of attention away, and unfortunately going to get battered out and destroyed right here. Deadeye has been activated, thrown into the mines, and Quack doesn't get it out at the end of the day, but Maverick, bit of a rough scenario as well, getting super low. Is probably got to let go of the bomb here. Wants to try to take this one away, gonna boot them away. Somehow Mix on the outside and falls through anyway.
Oh, so close to getting back in that mech and being able to fly up here. Gorilla's Coalescence, though, should seal the deal here. 90%, a really good amount there for Iliad Artemis, especially considering how rough that first point was for them here. And, I mean, you're not that mad. You did force out 3 ultimates from the other side. You're still coming in this next engagement with 2 of your own. Industrial already built up to another beat here. Painkiller does have their own pulse bomb ready to go. Julia, though, still holding on to theirs, but I think Pauline's Kitsune Rush is going to be something that really opens up this fight here for Emote down mid.
Yeah, very much could be the case right here, as that's still very much going on. Pulse Bomb ready for both sides right now between Painkiller and Julia. Haven't had the best of luck with it thus far right here, but Cardi-Fan already going down means you lose your real big stall method here. Someone is really able to kind of take all this damage in this distraction. Unfortunately, they's beginning to fall apart in 90% and counting means someone has to quickly set up for a retouch.
And you see Cardi-Fan back in the fray here, coming back all the way from spawn. They should be able to get a touch here, and they're really hoping that the rest of the team is going to follow up. Julia's been holding on to this pulse bomb now for a very, very long time. You have to imagine coming out here this fight.
Yeah, well, it came out all right, but not in the place you would have wanted it, unfortunately. So, this fight not going to come down to maybe the ults right now. It could come down, though, with Quack and Duck going to be able to use that Deadeye and causing everybody to kind of move around. Point right here, Julia in a really rough situation. Somehow avoids death, at least momentarily. So the fight's still very much a 5v5 hanging around right here. Gonna see the trade-off, though. People getting forced around, and 99% still very much on the board for Iliad Artemis. Body still hanging around on the point. Maverick hanging around still, which is fantastic, especially with a bomb on both sides, which means the self-destruct and the personal, as they're getting close to being booted off. At this point, Dex, they're doing everything they can to stay alive.
Yeah, the bomb will come out here from Maverick. Maverick, I don't think will even be able to get back in the mech. Julia can be able to take care of them there. And honestly, if you're Iliad Artemis, with that going on right there, you might just have to give this point over. And that looks like that's going to be the case here. But if you're Cardi-Fan, you built it to another mines. Danny and Pauline still close to their ultimates as well. Maverick using that bomb, they're not going to be able to get back in the mech. Really does hurt them. They tease potentially going over to a Winston there for the moment, but second guess themselves back onto the Diva here now. But still, you have your own Kitsune Rush and your own Pulse Bomb here. If you're Iliad Artemis, you might want to use those early on here, maybe to try to find an early pick.
Yeah, really want to do in the situation right here. Mine's going to be extremely useful. Going to go in. Quack and Duck in a rough scenario. Could not be too far behind for Industrial, and that is going to be a rough one. Julia going to get the 2K at the end of the day, and now Danny hoping to deliver on some action. Marduk sitting super low, managed to TP out at the very last second. And now they're forced around 70% and counting. Pulse Bomb does come out, but it does not get anything, unfortunately.
And right now, if you're Iliad Artemis, you're just trying to find a quick reset here. Yeah, you don't have a lot of time left, but you really let Emote down mid build up to a lot of their own ultimates. So Emote down mid now has a huge advantage. Mines, Tectonic Shock, and the Pulse Bomb ready to go. The Mines already out on the field.
Yeah, very much all right here, and this is going to be deciding this second point right here, potentially deciding if Emote down mid will take this first map away in 2-0 fashion here. Danny has that excavation ready to go around the corner right here, but unfortunately going to die without being able to use it properly, and now back to the 4v4, but Maverick and Marduk doing a really good taking care of their respective bodies right here, but retouches need to come through here shortly right now. Julia doesn't want to let the team go down. Maverick getting hit with the Pulse Bomb as well. Means it's not quite over yet. Retouch is still very much available, but a recall is there for Julia to keep hanging around. But the Deadeye right here could be deadly. And for Pauline, 100% is Dex. It is coming down, potentially the back of Danny to make it happen. With Julia still there, it's happening!
Oh, the Tectonic Shock's coming in clutch right there. Duck and Quack trying to just touch this as long as they can. But there's the point retake by Emote down mid, and no one in sight for Iliad Artemis. Emote down mid will win this first map, and hell, that second point was much more exciting than what we saw on point one. Iliad Artemis had a chance, it really did, but they just weren't ever able to really finish a fight once they got the 99%. Emote down mid, they played it very smart. They played a really solid kind of play style here, something that really gave Iliad Artemis problems here. But hey, very early on in the series, I expect Iliad Artemis to bounce right back here.
I 100% do as well. That's an amazing way to get it started, though. It's quite the bounce back from what you had experienced previously before, because obviously that first round ends up being a bit of a wipe, but this one you make very close. You bring it to that 99-99 scenario. Unfortunately, this is what you're probably going to be dealing with throughout the series, is someone like Julia, who has been clutching up the fights, a fight that they probably should have won, the one before the last fight, that they had kind of locked in. They were in a 5v3 situation, and somehow they end up really losing out on it. It's a really rough situation at the end of the day, but that's where you need to kind of consider, because now I think the Tracer ban sounds extremely reasonable at this point.
It really does. I'm just looking at the stats here right now for that last map, or our first map of the night here. I mean, let me phrase it like this: there's only one person on Emote down mid that did not get double-digit kills, and that was one of the supports. There's only 2 people on Iliad Artemis that had more than 10 kills, and that was Squarebread and Maverick. I have to imagine that Squarebread was the Tracer player for them, who had 12 kills.
Really good taking care of their respective bodies right here, but retouches need to come through here shortly right now.
A lot of fights. They were struggling to really do a lot there. They had a good start there on that second point, and they were looking very, very solid, but it just, once they got up 99%, Emote down mid played a completely different kind of play style, really putting Iliad Artemis on their toes, and they were never able to get around to just figuring it out there in that map.
Yeah, they really weren't, unfortunately, but obviously, with it being a first 3, plenty of time to still bounce back, time to make something happen, and, hey.
These are bans. These are some bans.
Yeah,
Juno,
yeah, go ahead.
Juno was banned out, so we didn't talk about who was the second ban out on map 1. That was Juno. Juno's also being banned out here again, heading into map 2, but our second ban is actually Reinhardt, which for this map is very, very interesting, but these teams, they might know something here.
I mean,
I don't know what it is.
Well,
but we do have one sub
yeah,
coming in.
That might be the reason, honestly.
Yeah, you have one sub coming in here for Emote down mid, and I believe Iliad Artemis here. You have Derpy coming in for Emote down mid, taking out Cardifan, who played an excellent map 1, and for Iliad Artemis, you have, I believe it is, because Industrial's in map 1, I think Stella is coming in for them.
Stella coming in on support right here. Here to play the Zenyatta. Makes a ton of sense right here. Both teams back going to go over to the Freya for the time being right here. I like that Maverick is over on the Ramatra. I think Ramatra has a ton of utility, but both teams otherwise kind of playing what is becoming, at least on the side of, he went down mid, kind of traditional poke style right here. A Brig, though, as Danny going to go back and swap to a Genji. Well, I'm just eating my words out here, I guess.
I mean, I don't necessarily hate this composition. You know why? You know why you saw the Widowmaker there. They want to try to potentially find an early pick on there. Pauline also swapping over to the Zenyatta here. We saw this a lot yesterday, and you see it on the defense side as well here. Those Discord orbs do a lot to anyone they attach them onto, especially Maverick on that Ramatra. Once they get into that Nemesis form, they just become a bigger target.
Ooh, yeah, a little too big of a target, unfortunately. Freya is a bit of a tank buster, unfortunately. You get caught with those. Sometimes there's not a whole lot that you can do, but everyone doing what they can to try to stay alive, hanging around for the time being right here. But while everyone's backing up, that that cart already inching way closer.
Yeah, but you should still get one more touch here if you are Iliad Artemis at the moment. But I mean, Maverick's gonna have to be taking a lot of that damage here early on, and you're really hoping that Mardox and Stella are gonna be able to keep them healed up here, because they are your last line of defense here. If they fall early again, you have to go with that first point no matter what.
Yeah, you really do have to in the situation right here, but already Marduk has that Amp Matrix ready to go in case it's needed, and Gorilla doesn't have it too far behind, but with Pauline going down, means you might have to hold off, but Derpy does manage to find one, and there's a bit of a response immediately from Marduk here. Just gonna be holding everybody back, and that should stop the fight momentarily. Unless that happens.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Julia's on this off angle, and no one wants to deal with the Freya, and no one wants to get even close to them. And so Julia's just being able to just shoot down mid here and find everything here. The Amage is now out from the other side. This should guarantee first point.
Yeah, they're gonna touch with literally 0.01 meters left. That is absolutely insane. They're gonna push back. Lux is there. It's gonna take people off the point right here. Maverick, though, gonna be able to survive for the time being right now as Julia sitting by, has a bolo shot ready to go. As they start taking that action back over towards the point, and Julia gonna be able to bring it around, gonna catch onto one. It's getting close. Stella will end up going down. Julia, though, not too far behind. Back into the 4v4. Blade right around the corner for Pain Care, but instead it's being used here by Danny, who's trying to hack a slash through Maverick right now, who's eventually gonna fall down, and the rest of Iliad Artemis not gonna be too far behind.
Yeah, and I understand. I thought Quack finding one there. Not really going to stop the roll of that cart as Emote's down mid, picking up the first point right there. But if you're Maverick, I mean, you might have wanted to hold on to that Annihilation. You looked at that fight there. You already lost a couple. You really only had one support with you. I think you want to hold on to that here, especially as it's going up this second point push, going up this hill. Very, very difficult if you're that attacking team that ends up losing a fight here. That would have been huge to come into this next engagement with. But then you start looking at what Iliad Artemis has here. 3 ultimates coming up. 3 very strong ultimates coming up.
Oh, 100%. 3 very strong runs right now. That blade could be mega incredible. Obviously, Derpy in a bit of a rough situation, literally sitting at 1 health right now, but we'll get a little bit of care going again as hoping this blade gets something. Going to go back around, decides to full commit over here to get rid of Derpy, and it works out beautifully so to get rid of them. It's 1 ult for 1 person, but at the end of the day, it really stops Emote down mid from doing anything.
And Pancare had to say in that stairwell until that disrupting shot went away, or else they probably would have died. But right now, I mean, you got rid of 2 ultimates right there. If you are Emote down mid, you're coming up to your own Amp Matrix. You are not that far away from an overclock and that flux. That's gonna be something that really opens up a fight. Still, though, building up their own transcendence should be something that cancels out probably that flux from the other side. But Gorilla's Amp Matrix you need to use just to build some space. Nice bolo shot coming out there from Duck on Quack. Won't find anyone, but did force out that immortality field if you want to play aggressively here.
Yeah, Derpy is taken out first again right here, and getting hit right there means that well, Gorilla's sitting at literally 1 health, but losing out on Julia and Danny not too far behind. Again, another reset, unfortunately. Again, this is where a lot of teams get held up at, though, Dex. It's not unusual to see this happen.
Yeah, it's not, but the biggest thing that happened there is Maverick died. So now if you're Iliad Artemis, you might have to fall back a little bit, and this is exactly what Emote down mid need here. Just a chance to get back to this cart, get this cart pushing again. And you look at the ultimates they have here, about to have all 5. The only thing you really have to deal with on the other side for the brief moment is going to be both those support ultimates, which is that Transcendence might just be able to do you enough, especially when Danny just pops off and finds Maverick early.
Yeah, Immortality Field is now gone. Marduk might not be too far behind. That's the 3 shots right there. Danny, a 3K as well. Bright side, though, definitely time to recontest, but Danny clearly saved that ult for a great time.
Yeah, there's time to recontest, but unless you're going to have Stella use their Transcendence go in there and touch, you're walking into basically a shooter's gallery when you look at what Emote down mid has here. 4 really, really good ultimates. So, again, you're going to have to be investing a lot, but Pancare already out.
Oh, yeah, and they're just full-on throwing in there right now. Only 1 has been used on the other side with an Iliad Artemis right here as Emote down mid are just literally surrounding Maverick. Unfortunately, there's not really a thing you can do in that situation as they'll clear away. 3 minutes on the clock right here, but we have, even in recent times, have seen teams be held on this corner because it is another corner where if you lose momentum, it can be really hard to get it back.
Yeah, momentum's the name of the game with this entire map. Yeah, you might be on a racetrack, and you need momentum a lot on racetracks, but this map in particular, you lose it, it's very difficult, especially once you get into this 3rd point push, because you look at where that card has to go through, very tight corridors, really allowing the defensive team to find a lot of value here, especially when you see Iliad Artemis just getting set up here on this high ground. It's going to be difficult for Emote down main to really find anything, unless someone falls down like Maverick did right there.
Yeah, right now you can see trying to find a shot desperately. Is Quack on, or a Duck on Quack, I should say, right here. And we'll eventually find one right here. Stella gonna come out directly afterwards, so that's pretty much gonna put a nail in the coffin on that fight right here. Obviously, don't want to lose anybody, though. You want to hold on to this. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if they tried to play slightly more aggressive, too.
I mean, right now you want to try to get rid of 1 more player on the other side if you are Iliad Artemis, and that's exactly who you want to get rid of right there, Julia. Having them fall is going to really slow down this team because we've seen the Freyas really take over the game here recently, so they're going to wait for that character to come back. And you look at what now Iliad Artemis has. Almost all 5 of the ultimates are ready. Hell, same thing could be said for Emote down mid. 5 ultimates on 5 here. We might see an ult dump fight coming out here. Yeah,
and again, Pancare must have something on Derpy, by the way, because that's the 2nd time that has been a direct attack right there, but it does create a 40% situation where Derpy should realistically get back faster into the fight.
Yeah, but again, Derpy falling out there going to really slow down Emote down mid. However, you'll take that, and especially you'll take that if you are on the side of Iliad Artemis.
Yeah, Bullet Shot comes out, not going to find anything quite yet right here, but Danny was able to do a lot last time in the overclock, hoping to do so again as Flux going to come online. You see that catch onto multiple bodies right here. It is a cause for both the supports to go down, and Julia gonna help finish things around as Maverick gonna be lucky to escape with their lives intact, if even possible. And in fact, they won't.
and that does hurt them a little bit. It's going to really slow them down, but at the same time, you do only see one person on that cart. I would at least have two people on that cart if you're Emote down mid. That would really put this Iliad Artemis team into a spot where they truly do not want to be, especially with all the ultimates they're coming out here with. They could immediately come out with that Transcendence just to get back to the point.
Yeah, 100%. So it could be on the back of Danny to make this happen right here. And in fact, Danny is going in for some action right here. But unfortunately, nobody wants to make themselves known at this point. Painkare is hanging around and is getting plenty of care. So it really is going to be a difficult experience making something happen. Transcendence used by Stella as well, just to really double down. So now, at the very best, we're talking about overtime in the situation right here, and Maverick has a get-out-of-jail-free card as Julia is unfortunately in no man's land, so back to the 4v4. The spawn's going to be way better for Iliad Artemis, and at this point, Dex, if Maverick uses Annihilation right here, I don't think anything's going to stop them.
Yeah, the Annihilation might just be sealing the deal here right now. There it is. It's looking to get rid of Gorilla before they get that touch. And hey, they're able to stop them right there before they fully complete the map. A really, really good end of this round here for Iliad Artemis, especially when you go look back at that first point kind of push where they really struggled throughout the majority of it. Maybe invest some ultimates not at the right times, but they really got better as this round went on. However, that could be the exact same thing we said about them last map, and they kind of fell apart towards the end of Oasis. They need to have a strong start here, in my opinion. They cannot get slow, have a slow start. Again, I'm just looking at the stats at the moment. It's pretty even across the board here. Danny on the other side, the only person in the lobby with over 20 elims, 21 to be exact, and the only person in the lobby with over 10,000 damage. So they were doing a lot. And remember, they were playing that Freya, which when you look at these numbers, doesn't necessarily shock you. Gorilla, though, I mean, 10, 12, and 2, providing 12,000 healing, almost 13. Did a really good job. Mardo did the same thing for their side on that Baptiste as well. 14,000 healing for them, 10 elims. I mean, everyone's kind of, pulling their weight here this map, especially on the side of Iliad Artemis, who does not want to go down 2-0 in this series.
Nah, you really don't in the situation right here, and it can be really difficult to come back from something like that because momentum becomes so squarely in place once you get to that point. So, obviously, if you're an Iliad fan, you're hoping you come out the gate, have a really good first attack, and give yourself plenty of time because you're going to need a big time bank to get through a second point because we see many teams struggle at that point, and even a team like Emote at mid struggled a very fair amount as well.
Yeah, you see a Duck on Quack coming out on the Widowmaker for one brief shot. Probably then going to swap right back over. You see Painkare just setting up that TP so they could get that one pop shot and make the swap back over. And right now, I mean, both teams almost running the same exact thing here. Other than Maverick coming out on the Diva, you don't normally see that one a lot, but I don't hate the pick, especially if you want to harass that backline or put a lot of pressure on the Julia here.
Yeah, and again, also being able to eat something like the Bolo shot, which obviously can be massive if you're able to take that out of the game right now, but unfortunately, Stella, it's the only thing getting taken out of the game, and the support line is falling apart. Derpy making amazing things happen right here, and Danny going to be able to stay alive for the time being as Iliad Artemis going to go back to the drawing board for the moment.
Yeah, and honestly, like I like the Diva pick here, but at the same time, because of those dives and those aggressive moves you're going to be making on it, you do leave that backline pretty open, especially with how fragile this backline is for both sides at the moment. It really will hurt you if your tank's not there to kind of peel to help out your supports.
Yeah, 100% right here. You see Maverick is just really trying to play for this high ground and take it away, but they're giving up no space for free. Iliad wants to make sure that Iliad Artemis is giving their blood, sweat, and tears every time they want to take a single meter of coverage, but eventually got to back off momentarily, but Julia got to get the better of their counterpart. A Duck on Quack struggling to do much against Julia in the situation right here, so once again, they kind of just have to hang around as Maverick just can't seem to get too much done on the Diva right now.
Julia getting low, though. I mean, if you could find someone out on the other side right now that for Iliad Artemis, that would be huge for them. But you are going to have a Duck on Quack come back, and Mardox will have their Amp Matrix here ready to go, but Derpy will have something to kind of counter it out if they play that early.
Yeah, it's going to be used, and it's going to be solo used over on to Maverick, who's going to get hit with the Immortality Field, so not going down. Unfortunate use right there, and now it's a 5v3. Derpy in squad going to get pushed back. A recontention here is possible, but it's not going to be too easy.
Yeah, I mean, the damage is coming out. That's pretty far up right there. Bolo shot out as well. I think right now, if you are Emote down mid, yeah, you're just giving up that first point right here, especially with everyone falling and with how aggressively you do see Duck on Quack and Maverick playing. They are looking to find picks early on here so they can have a lot of free cart push, and that's exactly what they're going to get here.
Yeah, and now they're going to get part of a very difficult part to get through of this map, at least to some degree. They only have one on it, so, if you're able to take a fight as Emote down mid, and win it convincingly so, you could get back into that territory and play it pretty easily, honestly. But it's going to come down to this all care right now. Bolo Shot is currently ready for Julia in the situation right here, so kind of just hanging around waiting for the right moment.
I mean, that right moment might come up pretty soon here, but again, you have Maverick on that D.Va who could pretty much eat it, so they're going to be waiting for that ultimate to come out here, and it's a pretty loud ultimate because Freya does yell it pretty loudly here, so that's an easy eat there for Maverick if they see it. But you also have Stella who has that Coalescence ready to go. Blade, though, coming out here from Pink Hair.
Ooh, and Blade...
well, it was there for a moment.
Yeah, it was there, and then it's gone. Unfortunate situation right here. Maverick going to use the bomb to kind of hang around, survive a little bit right here. Unfortunately, not going to find anybody with it. It doesn't even remech either.
Yeah, survive was maybe a little bit of a too quick statement there.
Yeah.
The bombs, though, we've seen Maverick play the D.Va here a little bit throughout this series already. Just wasn't necessarily providing a lot when we saw back on Oasis, especially being able to get back into the mech here. And right now, I mean, Julia's still holding on to that Bolo Shot. It's very, very huge here, but Stella has that has a Transcendence on their side to basically negate it out, because I would imagine that they are target number 1, 2, and 3 when it comes to that Bolo Shot.
Yeah, I would 100% agree. Bolo Shot has been used. Not going to find too much right here. Julia, though, still, as there's online, he just honestly a bit afraid to use it, and I don't blame them in the slightest either. But with Maverick out of the mech right here, the best time is now before them. But sitting super low, gonna get taken care of as Pain Care. And Duck on Quack doing a great job right now, but Derpy still hanging around still. Is going to be able to have the ult ready to go. But now Stella has used it, and that means there's no defense mechanism left. And it whips!
And I mean, Flux coming out, they lose Danny, though.
Oh my god, this is insane. It's 2.5 meters away. Maverick's on the Doom, why not? Half a meter away, gonna see if you can just try to punch people away. Gonna stun them out right here, though, and that's gonna cause Pauline to go down, and now Derpy! Directly behind us, 3.5 minutes on the clock, gotta push 82 meters. It's not gonna be the easiest thing in the world, and Maverick gonna quickly swap back to the Sigma or the Ramatra. Actually, the D.Va again.
I mean, their D.Va's been pretty good. It started off slow, but once they got those perks, it really kind of changed how they played. And the rest of this Iliad Artemis squad has really picked up the slack as well here. You see a Duck on Quack, not that far away from Bolo Shot. Mardox, not that far away from Amatrix. You look at what Emote down mid has. They really, truly only have a rally coming up into this engagement. Gorilla will get that Amatrix at some point in it, but it'll be very later on in the fight. Same thing could be said for Julia and their own Bolo Shot, which didn't find the value they were truly looking for last time.
Yeah, it really wasn't a situation as, So, this is likely either an auto pause. It probably is an auto pause, honestly.
Yeah, it has to be an auto pause coming out here. Probably someone disconnected. That normally is the case with these, because you do see basically a fight is going on. You have Maverick going up on that high ground, just try to disrupt it a little bit. From my vantage point, though, Derpy's actually on the low ground. And I think in that side room where everyone kind of hides out a lot of the times. But it's going to be a really interesting kind of re-engagement here once this timer, or once you get back into the lobby or back into the game. Because Pauline not that far away from getting that rally, which, I mean, you see Maverick up there on the high ground, and they also have a Duck on Quack up there with them. It's going to be something where it puts them in a really, really tough spot, because Pauline could just shield bash them, and with how many people are up there from Emote down mid, it might not be the best result.
Yeah, it might not be. Pauline might be in a bit of a weird spot right now, especially with Danny not really able to give too much care right now, but the auto pause is up right here. Looks like everybody is very much still alive, and in this game right now is the Immortality Field going to be used. Rally also going to be used here as Maverick just going to have to kind of back off and kind of stay alive, and for the time being, it's not only stopping for the fact that the car has already gone 66 as a... Uh-oh. Bye, Maverick.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I mean, yeah, there's still a fight going on, but it's already basically being won here by Emote down mid. You're fine with how far this card is pushed right now if you're Emote down mid, because it's a long walk back now for Iliad Artemis, and this is a tough choke. We talked about this here. This entire third point is just one tight, small area where a lot of times the defender teams will have the huge advantage. You're really looking for Maverick to build up a lot of space and just make a lot of space as well here. But they immediately go up to the high ground, leaving the rest of their team kind of out to dry here.
Yeah, Maverick is kind of putting themselves in strange situations right now, but it's still staying alive, thankfully. But the problem is, this is becoming a situation where that blade is going to find value now more than ever, as Derpy is coming up slowly to this all right here, and here it is. Going to help get rid of two in the situation right here. Still floating away, as going to try to deflect it right here. Deflects a ton of damage to keep themselves alive within it right here, and they're cutting each other down. Bomb going to be used. Derpy in a rub scenario, but they're going to have to try to touch. Unfortunately, Dex, it's not going to happen. That means we are going 1-1 in the series. What a response.
and just, yeah, like you said, what a response from Iliad Artemis. And they looked a lot better, especially after that first play. Once they gave it up on the defensive side, they looked like they kind of figured out what they needed to do here. And that was one thing I talked about after that first map of Oasis. It seemed like they couldn't figure out how to necessarily go up against this Emote down mid team. This map, though, they figured it out pretty early on after they lost the first point. And, I mean, you would love to have seen them held on second, but it just was going to be a tough ask for them here. And a duck on Quack on that Freya made a huge difference as well. I mean, the Freya's that last map, after being banned out map 1, huge difference for both sides right there. But as I look at the stats here at the end of it, I mean, I was talking about elims here, and again, everyone did a really good job. Danny was the only one in the lobby that died 10 times, especially as one of your DPS characters there for Emote down mid. You're really hoping for a lot more. I'm looking at everything else here. Healing was about the same across the board. Give the slight advantage though to Mardox, who had 24k healing that map. Granted, Gorilla on the other side playing that map also did have 20k healing, but that extra 4k seemed to really make the difference for Iliad Artemis in that last map.
Yeah, I think it really did in that situation right here, and hopefully that momentum can kind of continue in this sense right here, because we know the map type, and well, not the map, just the map type, but the actual map of Suravasa be Flashpoint. But in terms of hero bans, the Hazard is actually the first tank being taken care of here, which I think is pretty interesting, all things considered. But I imagine, I guess a Hazard ban at this point, you just might know a thing or two about the team you're going up against, or perhaps you're just protecting a different tank, and Hazard is just, unfortunately, the guy that's got to take the hit.
Yeah, but I think Hazard finds a lot of value on basically all the Flashpoint maps in general. So not a dumb ban. I think it's a really smart ban coming out from I believe it's Emote down mid here. We haven't seen them play that tank all night long, so not a big shock. Iliad Artemis would be that team I would probably expect to maybe, pull out another tank here, since we've already seen 3 or 4 from them here. We did see Doomfist there for a brief moment, but that was only just to try to push people away and get that second point cap. Ended up working out in the end. If it kind of fell apart right there, I feel like that would have been the start of a slow decline there for Iliad Artemis on that second map. But hey, it ended up working out for them, and they ended up winning that map there to even up the series. But at the moment, it looks like we actually are having a sub come back in here for Emote down mid. It's going to be the tank swapping here. Cardifan coming back in. Derpy heading back to the bench here. And not necessarily a big surprise. I would not be honestly surprised here if Cardifan comes out on the Wrecking Ball. I feel like Wrecking Ball actually has a lot of value here on Suravasa.
Yeah, I think 100% they do. If it was a situation where it was like New Junk City, I would probably see the argument against it. But Suravasa, even though it is a Flashpoint map, it is definitely the more open of the two. A lot of those points have a lot of these corners where you can play a ball pretty reliably. And from what we saw earlier, when there was an attempt to shut it down with the Sombra, unfortunately, it wasn't working out too beautifully. Sombra is a great character to be able to stop that. Unfortunately, there's just so much care from your support line. The fact where if you do get hacked out, you get hit with that cleanse, you're able to simply sustain through it and get out of there in time. And that's what we saw that happened a lot back at City Center. So whether or not the Sombra comes back out, something we're going to have to find out. Maybe it got banned for all we know. We don't know that. We don't know the second ban yet.
Nope. Hazard and Moira being banned out here. And honestly, I think this is an incredible ban out from Iliad Artemis. Remember, Gorilla played that Moira the entirety of the first map. Only died, I believe, 2 or 3 times on it. They were just doing so much. The coalescences were great. And just the amount of damage you're able to put out on Moira, yeah, there's that stereotype of, DPS Moira. But sometimes you honestly just need to be a DPS Moira. And Gorilla did a really, really good job of it here. But as we head in now to Suravasa, looks like Industrial coming back in here this time around. So same subs for each side. Not necessarily a big shock. I mean, I do say that Flashpoint is basically just another much, much faster map of Control. So you have the same players that played that first Control map. And coming out of the gate, yep, Cardifan back out on the ball. Industrial on the Lucio here. Maverick, I think, going to stick on that Diva here. It worked really good last time, but the last time we saw him go up against that Wrecking Ball for Cardifan, it didn't necessarily look the best.
Yeah, it didn't really, so I'm curious how it's going to work out this time around. I like the fact that Maverick is sticking over on the Diva. I think Diva can be an excellent tool to kind of negate the ball to some degrees, be able to kind of give more care to your backline, but also, if you're that desperate to get rid of mines in a last, tough situation, you can throw a bomb in there and simply negate every single one of them. So, curious to see how the first fight's going to go down here, Dix.
Yeah, and right now, Pain Care on this Sombra, again, going to be a very, very important character. Already getting a hack on the Cardifan. Look what that does to them. Almost gets them down below half, forcing them to roll back and use all their abilities here early on. That's what you want from your Sombra.
Yeah, 100% it's what you want. Point a few seconds away from being capped away as Industrial facing a little bit of damage, but has plenty of care right now, and that's kind of what we've seen of Iliad Artemis kind of transforming throughout the series already. Seeming to be getting better and better right here. A nice hack could be going through, and Danny in the wrong place at the wrong time right here. Unfortunately, Duck on Quack is going to fall down as well, so back into the 44 situation right here. Maverick, plenty of health and plenty of time to go in for the retouch. Will eventually do so right here. See Paincare trying to find something on the hack right now, but it's just really getting forced out as Cardi-Fan dedicating themselves to pressuring them out.
And I was going to say, finally, someone caps the point here, but Maverick just keeping this contest alive. Paincare falling. You might have to give up the point right now if you are Iliad Artemis, and yeah, that's what you do. You see them all turn tail and run, but Cardi-Fan and the rest of this Emote down mid squad does not want to let them run.
Yeah, can't blame either. There's not really any big punishment here if you do manage to push up, unless Duck on Quack just hits some amazing shots right here. But for the time being, everyone's going to survive, and that means 30% already. With the way this fight's going to go, I mean, you got to win this fight if you want to have any chance of taking the point.
Yeah, and you look at this, Paincare already off of the Sombra, going over to the Tracer instead, maybe a little bit more value here, and just being able to pump in a little bit more damage as well, especially on the Cardi-Fan. You want to try to get rid of that Wrecking Ball early, because when we saw the Wrecking Ball kind of fall apart on that second point of Oasis, it was all the advantage of Iliad Artemis.
Yeah, double Consider Rush going to be used here right now, and it's really just going to cause everything to come to a bit of a standstill right now, as Gorilla going to be forced to try to get out of there right now. Still has the ability to TP around, will eventually do so, doing a really good job of simply hanging around in the fight right here, but eventually Julia going to be on the scene, going to help get rid of a couple at this point, but Duck on Quack has finally gotten their revenge. The question is, Dex, is it too little too late?
You're going to get a touch here, Industrial, if they use the beat. Kind of tells you what Iliad Artemis is thinking. Well, the minefield come out to really counter the beat there.
Yep.
I like it. Bomb now out from Maverick. I mean, they might just be trying to clear the mines off the point.
Wouldn't surprise me at all right here, as everyone's still hanging around point. 3/4 of the way to getting capped right now. You see the touch is trying to come through, but eventually it has to be let go, so now it's back in the hands of Iliad Artemis, but the fight is still very much active.
Yeah, it really hasn't ended. That's been the one thing. Beat now coming out from Pauline here, and they're going to be able to find Mardo out early.
Yeah, now, this is being run down right here. Paincare might be better to hold on to this Pulse Bomb in the situation right here. Looks like they are considering such, but Maverick still kind of there, being the juggernaut of the squad, trying to hold on with everything they've got. Is eventually going to get forced around. Point is going to flip, unfortunately. I think Maverick is also going to fall out of the mech here. Wouldn't be surprised if they took their sweet time taking care of them.
Yeah, Pulse Bomb coming out there from Paincare, not going to be able to find anyone, and with Julia finding Industrial out right there. I don't know how much longer you're going to see this Iliad Artemis squad really try to attempt to keep this just stall up here. I think it would just be smarter just to give up this point and go fight for the next one here. But the point is going to be, looks like it's going to be in favor of Iliad Artemis here to start off.
Yeah, looks like to be in the situation right here. Is gonna stick with the ball, but have the second mines already on this game right here, so gonna be a bit of a threat because Maverick not gonna have the bombers time on us. Julia, things taken in this fight right here and now with Industrial going down and Mardox too. I mean, okay, Julia decided no, we don't want to fight. We just want the point. Thank you very much.
And right now, I said back on map 1, if you cannot shut down a Wrecking Ball, you're going to really struggle shutting down the rest of their team. Cardi-Fan, I believe, has only died once so far this map, and they are making a huge difference. Actually, no, Cardi-Fan has yet to die. Same thing with Gorilla and Pauline on the other side. So when your support line staying alive the entire time, your tank's going to be in heaven.
Yeah, I mean, that's the beauty of it, really, in a situation like this. So, hey. Hope to see how things are going to go from here on out. Still definitely an opportunity, but Julia barely missing that shot over on the Mardox, but that will keep the fight very much alive here for Iliad Artemis trying to survive as beat around the corner, considering a rush around the corner, bombs around the corner. Everything is about to come online for both squads right here, but consider rush is going to be the first thing on the KR right here as Paincare looking for that pulse bomb online. Julia going to get forced around. Duck gonna be able to help take care of business, but both teams trading out massively, but eventually Danny finds a stick, gets taken care of afterwards. This is such a back and forth fight, but at the end of the day, Dex, it's gonna be really hard to sustain any longer without Cardi-Fan in the fight. 72%. Eventually, Artemis gonna take that one away.
I mean, it was a back and forth fight there, but the fact that it was Artemis always finding those first picks in a lot of those trades really did end up helping out there. And hey, Cardi did a good job just stalling out that point for a 72%. First death of the map here right now, and they're not that far away from yet another set of mines.
Yeah, and Painkare has a pulse bomb as well. A lot of bombs being ready as he's set up here in this fight, potentially, as Maverick just got to run around and save their own life right here. Duck on Quack wants to try to find something, but B has been activated, but Gorilla did not get affected, so unfortunately taken out. Duck on Quack says, whatever you can do, I can do better. 3K.
You need a pop-off play like that from someone, and Duck on Quack, they've been solid throughout this series, but that was their first true pop-off of this series and of this map. And I mean, you're gonna see one more true engagement come out here from Emote down mid. You have minefield ready to go here, but you're walking into a bomb and a pulse bomb from the other side. And honestly, if you're Painkare, you're really looking at getting that pulse bomb out here early. Force out a Suzu, allow the rest of your team to kind of play freely after that.
Yeah, 100% right here, but Pauline getting taken out is gonna be a bit of a desperate situation. Danny is the one toucher for the squad. Eventually will get in there. Unfortunately, this might just be delaying the inevitable right here. You can see Julia kind of hanging around with the point. Pauline also kind of just hanging out for the time being. But it's an unfortunate situation because you can keep stalling and stalling and stalling, but someone has to retouch. Unfortunately, it does not come through as Cardifan is going to try to get out of there alive. And for the time being, is alive and will get out.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get out. Wrecking Ball is just such a fast hero, but it looks like the next point not that far away, and Cardifan actually holding on the minefields is actually going to be a really good setup for them. You look at what else they have. Julia's overclock found 2 last time. Danny has a pulse bomb. Gorilla not that far away from their Kitsune Rush, but losing Danny early on here really does hurt you because now you can see Iliad Artemis just use that Kitsune Rush to try to clean up a fight very, very early here now.
Yeah, 100%, and unfortunately you can already see Emote Diamond having to simply back off a little bit in this scenario. Don't have to give up the point necessarily, though. This is 100% recontestable, and obviously Cardifan looking to set up the mines, going to simply go down and bulldoze through and pretty much block the entry path, but still the point goes in Iliad Artemis' favor, but might not be like that for long.
Julia popping off with their own overclock right there. Cardifan going to be able to roll through one, and hey, you're going to be able to get some free percentage here. Maverick don't use that bomb. They're not going to use it this time around, and they're not even going to be able to stall out the point. 21% is all they get, but Maverick holding on that bomb is a very, very key piece of the puzzle here for them in this next engagement. But look at Cardifan and their percentage already up here. Remember, they used mines at the start of that last engagement, already halfway to another set. They might be able to have another set of mines ready to go here by the time that we see Iliad Artemis take a fight to point here. But you're looking at Mardox at the moment with that Kitsune Rush. I think you use that early on. The Gorilla is going to have to respond with theirs right after it.
Yeah, I 100% think so as well. So I'm going to see how this first fight is, well, not this first fight, the second fight's going to go down on this point. It's 50% already on the case. Danny dies for getting rid of Industrial right there, so here, see how these are going to go from here. There is a bomb on the point. If you drop that bomb on the point, there's not a thing that Emote Down Mid's going to be able to do about it right here, and I'm considering why they haven't tried to do it at this point, and now it's 70% and counting. I think this point essentially needs to be sacrificed.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why they weren't using the bomb. They were trying to maybe clean up 1 or 2 more picks there, and at that point, you could argue that the fight was over, that no matter what Emote Down Mid could have done, they would have ended up losing the point anyway. But now you have bomb going into next point. However, it doesn't necessarily matter because Cardifan has mines going into the next point as well here. And I mean, it looks like Iliad Artemis thought the point was going to be at a different one, but no, we're heading to Fountains here at the moment. And you have a lot of your ultimates coming up here. If you are Artemis, the only one you're missing it now is that Kitsune Rush. You're going to have a big ult advantage, but that's been the biggest problem for Iliad Artemis, is just being able to win fights early on. We talked about it in map 1 where they just weren't able to end fights. Well, now they're just not necessarily finding the fight wins early on either.
Yeah, that's kind of been the case scenario right here, and now it is a must win on this point right here if you want to be able to keep things alive, as for the time being, it seems that Iliad Artemis has the point secured, but obviously Cardifan has plenty of time to touch.
Yeah, they are on Wrecking Ball, and they are touching right there. Danny already finding a duck on Quack is not how you want to start this fight if you are Artemis.
No, not at all. It's still technically winnable right now. You've got a beat, you've got a pulse bomb, you got the self-destruct right here. Danny going down, the possibility does exist, but for the time being, the flip is going to go through, as I imagine they might try to go on the all-out aggression here, especially if Painkare can maybe find a stick.
Cinerush coming out there for Mardox is actually going to be good. It's going to get everyone out of those minefields from Cardifan.
Yeah, beacon to be expected as well right here. Want to be careful right now. Pulse bomb onto the Cardifan might get rid of them, but right now they're simply just hanging around on the point right here, but unfortunately they shouldn't even be the main target right now. They're just kind of stalling things out, and even though the flip comes through at 36%, they are not in the advantage right now.
No, they really are, especially down Industrial, and Cardifan just doing a lot at the moment. Maverick has their own bomb, but finding Paulina really does even the scales a little bit here.
Yeah, TB for Gorilla, who's sitting super low right now, could be a bit of a struggle to really deal with right now as Cardifan still surviving throughout all this fight as Maverick not going to be able to survive their remech right there, and unfortunately that's going to result in the end of the fight, and they'll flip over with maybe 41, 42% on the board. Hey, make it more, why not? Keep stalling out.
I mean, hey, that's what they need to do. That fight was lost very, very early on. They needed to stall it for as long as they could. 49% is a good amount, but you look at what Artemis has here coming in this next engagement. Not a lot. Look what Emote down mid has. Mines, Beat, Pulse Bomb, they are in a very, very good spot to not only win this next fight, but to win this point and end the map.
Yeah, 100% the situation right here could be going to that 5th point. If you can just turn it around. If you're Iliad Artemis right here, it's a must-win right here. You don't want to have to be facing down the barrel of that. And hey, might not have to happen quite yet. Mines have been used right here, so Painkare in a rough spot, but eventually be forced out. B going to be expended as well. This is the invested right here. They think they could take this one away right here, right now. Danny trying to make it back into the fight with a Pulse Bomb right here, but Marduk hanging around trying to get this Consider Rush online. He's going to have it for this next fight.
And I think this is a very smart play by Emote down mid just to give up the point right there, but still at the same time, Cardifan, a problem. Julia finding a duck on Quack Out is not what you wanted to have happen.
That might be worst case scenario right there. Now it's a rough scenario. Painkare desperately trying to get this ult onto the table right now because a Pulse Bomb could potentially turn this around. You see Pauline knows this and is headhunting at the moment right now. Beacon to be expended right here. Pauline used theirs much earlier on right now, is sitting super low, getting headhunted, will eventually be done so successfully. Has Painkare still holding on to that pulse on, waiting for the ideal time, but Julia is on the scene right now, trying to clear things around, and it's becoming an unfortunate situation as it's slowly getting forced around right here. Maverick will eventually go back into the mech right here, gonna be able to get back in, so it's not over quite yet, but at this point, be lucky to get the recontention as Cardifan needs to go down to have any real chance here, and unfortunately with the mines, this could be calling a curtains here on Sarabasa.
I mean, you're going to see some late touches come out here from Artemis. They're going to have to do a lot. Painkare does have their own Pulse Bomb ready to go here. They recall to keep that contest alive. Oh, Marduk does fall. Painkare falls. There are going to be no more touches coming out, and a great response here from Emo down mid as they put themselves onto series point.
Yeah, it's a fantastic response to that. They only really struggle on 1 point, but it wasn't even necessarily a one-sided point either, and even so, they got a great reset. They played most of their ultimates brilliantly so. But at the end of the day, exactly what you need to do in that situation right here, and it feels like a lot of the players are starting to come alive more, especially at these DPS that felt a bit quieter back on map 1, but now, after going through 3, clearly seem to have themselves up and ready at 100%.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm just looking at the stats here right now, and there's a big difference. This might be a little bit of what we'd like to call a one-sided affair in this last map. 2 members on Iliad Artemis died 10 times. No one on Emote down mid died 10 times. The closest one was Danny with 9, but Danny also had 22 eliminations, and the DPS line there for Emote down mid combined for 46, which is insane right there. Cardifan, that Wrecking Ball is a problem for Iliad Artemis. Only died once that map. It was on that second point. The one they ended up losing had 28 elims to boot, had the most elims in the lobby and the most damage as well that last map. So Cardifan, when they're in, playing that Wrecking Ball, like I said, very, very difficult for Iliad Artemis to deal with. And like I've also said before, if you struggle to shut down the Wrecking Ball, you're going to struggle to shut down the rest of the team. And I think, Hunter, we saw a great example of that right there.
Nah, I think we 100% did the situation right here, so they have to try to find some ability to shut it down or simply try to ignore it, because I get it can be or it can be difficult to ignore something like a Wrecking Ball that can be very much in your face, that can jump in and out of a fight pretty much whenever they please, but also we've seen that they've had a little bit more luck when they get to go in these one-on-one situations where you don't have to worry about the Wrecking Ball. Now the question is whether or not the Wrecking Ball is something that will get taken out, because as we'll pop over and see, we know we're heading over to Runasapi for our 4th and potentially last map, but waiting for the ban to come through, and it's Artemis who's picking first.
And here's the thing, if you're Artemis, you know the Wrecking Ball is going to be a problem.
What?
You're not gonna. You might not want to ban it out this map. You want to maybe saving it for map 5. And yeah, you hear that reaction there from Hunter, because Doomfist is our ban heading into this map. So Wrecking Ball still on the table. Wrecking Ball though on Runasapi doesn't find the most value, but still there's a lot of areas for the Wrecking Ball just to be able to slingshot themselves above roofs. find a lot of pile driver damage, and still just cause a lot of chaos, which has kind of been the go-to here for this Emote down mid squad. Iliad Artemis, they've been a little bit better when, you know, it's kind of slower. Yeah, they looked incredible on Circle Royale when they were playing that Diva. But Doomfist ban out here, I don't necessarily hate it, especially if you really do think Cardifan's going to be staying in, and the Doomfist might be their next tank up here.
Yeah, I suppose that is the case right there. I don't hate it that much at the end of the day. I think there are better options. But at the end of the day, if you think it is the right choice to make, the real evidence is what we see in those 10 minutes, once we get over to Runasapi. So it's really something we're going to have to really see to know whether or not if it was the correct choice. Because if they are correct and they go away with that win, and they're able to simply ban out their Wrecking Ball, then, hey, it's a possible solution. But the problem is if you're able to ban first, if you are Emote down mid, you can just simply protect the Wrecking Ball in that situation right there. You could just go ahead and ban the Diva, and you can't play the Diva, and also you can't ban away the ball.
Yeah. Second ban, though, for this map, actually going to be the Brigida here. So that is definitely coming out from the side of Emote down mid, and that really does make me think, especially since I see Cardifan here in the lineup, at least to start. Wrecking Ball is going to be on the table, and you just got rid of one of their biggest counters on that other side, being that Brig, which will just be able to shield bash and stop them from really doing a lot here. But Runasapi now, potentially our final map of the night here. Cardifan, even before you could pick heroes, already somehow had the Wrecking Ball picked and ready to go. No subs, it looks like, for either side here at the moment, so everyone kind of sticking with what has been their go-to lineups.
Yep, does seem to be the case. Don't dislike it whatsoever as we get into this fourth map of Runasapi. I always call it a very beautiful map, all things considered, but I'm excited to see how it goes down. Industrial being in there, probably going to be back over on the Lucio. Kind of did quite a lot of great things on the Lucio, had a lot of great survivability as well. And honestly, seeing a lot of productivity, as I said, from that DPS line. Julia, who's someone who's been kind of online since map 1, Danny and, Duck on Quack really coming alive back on our previous couple of maps. But what I'm really wanting to see here is Painkiller in the situation, because they have certainly been around. They have certainly done their due diligence. But this is one of those times where you need to have this be your pop-off map. It has to happen here.
And you see Danny come back out on the Pharah. Remember, they played a really, really good Pharah back on that first point of Oasis, and there was really no one on the other side that could shut them down. Well, that's kind of the same situation this time around, but the only person truly that could go after them is maybe Maverick, who you don't really want to be the person that has to be chasing the Pharah in the sky.
Yeah, definitely not what you want to have to do in the situation right here. Pharah can be very difficult to deal with. In fact, I mean, we saw the chart of bans earlier today that came out officially, and Pharah is one of the most banned DPS. Of course, there's one that was far and above, higher than them, but that's a fun topic for later. As for the time being, just kind of pot shot away right now, not going in too aggressively, kind of just managing the space and realizing that they don't have to go in aggressively to have value.
No, they really don't. And right now, I mean, Danny's actually playing far away from everyone in the sky and doing a really good job. But I also like how Artemis is playing this. They're playing behind walls. They're playing very, very safe. They don't want to be caught out early here. And Cardifan gets hacked up, but not going to be able to really lead to much right there.
Yeah, but it's working out really well so far because you're forcing them into a really uncomfortable space right now. Cardifan is eventually going to go back through, going to get hacked away, going to be super low, will eventually get deleted. Unfortunate way to get this fight started, but that means without that tank there, I mean, you're able to just keep pushing forward if you're Artemis.
Yeah, and I mean, you need to take up what space you can because they will get back here pretty quickly. Maverick, though, dealing with Julia in the backline, not necessarily what you want to see, but it's just buying some space. Cardifan, though, back into the engagement. However, if you just get rid of Cardifan here again early on, that probably guarantees you the forward spawns.
Yeah, now, Stall coming over on the point right now. Duck on Quack has the pulse bomb ready to go. If it gets on to Cardifan at the right time, it could be really devastating as gonna have to use the recall if you're Julia, but unfortunately, Artemis gonna simply back out, take the reset, and just take a fight at the mid-ground instead.
Yeah, they want to do that. Both teams are coming up to a lot of ultimates, but if you are Artemis, you feel like you probably have the slight advantage, and you kind of do here, but you need to go fast. You cannot give it a couple seconds.
Nah, you really can, and both pulse bombs are online. Could be very deadly, but it could be, even if you're a Maverick at the same time, Cardifan will be able to sustain it pretty easily as they're going to just keep letting this kind of just push forward as Quack on Quack is just looking for the moment. Unfortunately, isn't really finding anything at all at the time being. Both teams just kind of as if looking for a perfect moment where it's not going to be just simply presented to them.
I mean, but I love this use from Mardox right here, using this Consumer Rush late. They did a really good job kiting it out, and that's exactly what you see Emote down mid doing up until that moment right there.
Yeah, now Cardifan is just going to survive the backline once more, and they realize, you know what, it's not worth it. Let's just go and try and get this checkpoint here and now if we can.
Cardifan, though, should be able to actually come back out and contest this. They have minefields ready to go, so they could just use it as a great stall technique, but no, they're just going to roll away and allow Artemis here to get that forward spawn. Only 3 minutes off the time bank, so you still have a lot of time left. Pulse Bomb out there from Doc on Quack, won't find anyone here. Still a lot of ultimates left to go for both sides. There's the mines and the EMP to cancel them out.
Well, apparently not canceling them out hard enough, I guess. Not quite happening there. Is Industrial going to hold on to the beat in the situation as, bright side, everybody going to get the forward spawns right here, but that is a, yeah, even Painkare is, even confused.
Yeah. You want to know what happened? They never primed. They never hit the ground. They were just inanimate objects at that point. Yeah, they probably should be deleted, but because they never primed, there was nothing for them, nothing for that EMP to really cleanse right there. So that could have been a huge map-changing opportunity right there for Artemis, but now it's in the hands of Emote down mid, who has the map-changing opportunity here.
Yeah, 100%, and Pulse Bomb back online for Julia. Duck on Quack still really far behind in comparison right here. As you can see, all the attention that Cardifan is getting, honestly, pretty deserved on a map like this, where it's not quite as easy to work around with right here. You can see they're struggling just to simply get into that fight and really force anything, because if they go out into the open, they're simply going to get hacked out and killed. It is literally as simple as that, so you have to just keep playing the war of attrition and hopefully get that Consumer Rush online.
Yeah, but I love what these two teams are playing here, especially if you're Artemis. You're playing this map a lot differently than you play the other couple maps. You're playing safe, you're playing smart with a beat now coming out from Industrial as they want to try to take a quick fight here.
Yeah, unfortunately, Cardifans, no entry, unfortunately. As pile driving down right now, going to force a couple of bodies out. Maverick, though, still has that bomb ready to go. Unfortunately, Painkare going to get splatted into the ground, and Maverick is just going to attempt to escape with their lives intact, which means they're essentially sacrificing the checkpoint here.
Yeah, you're going to give up forward spawns, but you need to keep Industrial alive, and you're going to be able to. That's going to be your saving grace here. You're still going to have a slight lead because the bot's going to stop here for the forward spawns come out, so you're going to have about a 5-meter lead here. You have your own Consumer Rush, you have a bomb here, but that's it. You look at the other side, they're in a much, much better spot. Cardifan can pop mines here whenever they want, just try to open up a lot of space. Or you see the overclock.
Yeah, Maverick gonna have to use the bomb. Maverick has not really been surviving when that bomb kind of goes through, and it gets used over on the Maverick, and eventually Danny gonna find another lead is going to expend over the situation right here. Industrial will eventually find one. Industrial's been hanging around this entire time, has been on ground zero from this fight since before it has started, but eventually is gonna go down as, unfortunately, while that bot is being pushed back the other way, the lead has unfortunately been lost for Artemis.
Yeah, and that's not a good sign here. 4.5 minutes, still a lot of time, but with how good this Emote down mid team has played so far, once they get momentum, it's very hard to take it away from them here, especially if Cardifan just going to be able to keep themselves alive. And Pauline, I mean, they have that beat ready to go here. That's going to be able to keep this team sustained throughout a very, very long fight.
Yeah, and you're going to see a nice hack over onto Cardi right here. Gonna get super low. Could force the beat potentially, but not in this situation. Right here is EMP online for Painkare. Could just see Ultra Aggression to try to take this fight away, because if they win a fight right here, right now, you might simply be able to take the lead off of that, but it's going to get solo used on the Cardifan, and the beat does not connect.
I think you take that every time if you're Painkare and the rest of Artemis. You get rid of Cardifan, who's your biggest problem. You reset the spawns. So they have a long walk back, but if you can clean up a couple more picks here, you're going to have the 4 spawns back yourself, and you're not down that much here. Hell, it's only about 0.6 of a meter.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the fact that you're just going to get Cardifan back in the fight and Gorilla's there, unfortunately, they are going to have to give up the lead right here, but Julia has a Pulse Bomb, could change this around in one fell swoop, but Quack on Duck comes alive once more.
And again, just a huge play right there. Now you're building onto your lead. If you're Artemis, and this is exactly what you're looking for. You look at what they have as well. 4 ultimates coming up here. Compare that to, you know, the 2, 3 that are about to be online here for Emote down mid. But the Consumer Rush out here early, that's only going to buy more space.
Yeah, it really is right here. Going to get forced out, but being able to hit 100 meters here now and counting, it's going to become really difficult for Emote down mid to take this one back now. 103 going to be it for the time being right here. So you got to wonder, how much are you willing to sacrifice? How much are you willing to use right here If you're Emote down mid, Beat gonna come out online. Pulse Bomb nearly shuts down that dream, but luckily it will still come out right here. Pulse Bomb gonna come online, not gonna catch on anybody, but Pink here does go down, so won't be able to build it up closer to that EMP, and at this point, it might just be coming the stall game as the spawns are helplessly so much closer.
I don't like the usage of the bomb there. I really don't. And now if you're Mardox and Duck on Quack, you are just stalling out the spot as long as you can. Mardox falling there, Duck and Quack will fall right after it. But hey, you built up a pretty good lead here, about 55 meters, so you will take that.
Yep.
But again, you just invested a lot into that fight, and the only thing that we saw Emote down mid invest was a Kitsune Rush. They have a Beat coming up here soon. They have Overclock. They have Mines. They are not that far away from a Pulse Bomb. I mean, they're in a good spot here now that if they win a team fight very early on here, they're going to be able to get the forward spawns back and then start cutting into that lead a little bit. And they find Duck and Quack early.
Yeah, that's not the best case scenario for you here, but Cardifan is just under so much immense pressure that kind of struggling to do a whole lot. Currently playing a hopscotch on the top of Maverick's head, but not down quite yet, but it's just delivering an immense amount of pressure, and if Maverick here gets knocked out of mech, I mean, that would be devastating for the next fight.
Yeah, Maverick's going to be able to escape, but the biggest problem with that fight, if you are Artemis, you didn't get any ultimates out. That's what you were really trying to get there. Yeah, you built up to 3 of your own, but you look at Emote down mid, they still have 4 of their own coming up here and already using 1.
Yeah, Cleanse online right here to help them stay alive momentarily. Gonna see both of the supports surviving well, but the DPS unfortunately falling apart right here as Painkare and Duck on Quack has come alive once more. Now, minute left on the clock, Dex. This is becoming very dangerous territory now for Emote down mid.
Yeah, and right now, if you're Artemis, I think you have one goal here. Just get the forward spawns back yourself and then probably just give up the space. Get off the cart. You only have an EMP. You're not that far away from Beat or Bomb, but you look at the other side. They're going to have a lot more valuable ultimates coming up here, especially Gorilla and that Kitsune Rush, which has been big for them. Danny, though, they are not to be a slouch here on their own Overclock. They've done a really good job when we see them play the Soch throughout this series, getting kills with the Overclock. And right now, I love how Artemis is playing this. They are playing very, very safe, which has been kind of how they've been playing all game.
Yeah, and the Beat gets expended here, and Painkare just does not get hit, and now it's the expender from the rest of the squad over on Emote down mid, using 2 picks right, or 2 ults right here, will win the fight, and now it's got to be back-to-back to maybe 3 wins even, and now they do not have a response for EMP.
Maverick's putting themselves in a very, very bad spot right now. Cardifan, Gorilla, Julia, all right there, but it looks like they're going to fall back. This is going to be an overtime fight no matter what. You're going to have a Minefield, Pulse Bomb, and Kitsune Rush if you are Emote down mid. That EMP, though, for Painkare needs to be able to find the value this time. They're going to be looking to get the mines. However, you have to remember, they need to prime before you pop off with that EMP.
Yeah, and currently hanging around the air is going to catch on to literally just Cardifan. It devastatingly, this is not what you needed. It is heartbreaking. Now they're going to lose the fight, and now they're going to just be sitting on a Pulse Bomb and a regular bomb for this last fight.
If Mardox builds up to a Kitsune Rush, that will be the difference maker here. The bomb, though, from Maverick, we've seen them in the past. They just need to be able to build space and be able to give them time to get back into the mech. Cardifan, though, they have that minefield ready to go here. You could put that at this choke and really make it difficult for Artemis to really do anything here, though. And you see Cardifan getting set up for it at the moment. You're looking for hacks from Painkare to try to stall them out.
Yeah, that's why you're going to see them engage here like 10 meters before it happens. And Julia, unfortunately, can't get cleansed. And now, no Pulse Bomb on the board here. Kitsune Rush is ready. Painkare and squad going to move in. Going to hack Maverick just to bring them some care right here. It's a 4v3 now. The spawn's desperately closer for Iliad. Artemis right here. And unfortunately for Cardifan, not far behind. And Dex, it wouldn't be Overwatch if we didn't go to another map 5 here. And oh my god, that was... you know, that was a little stressful. If you're an Iliad fan right there, you know, might want to take some heart medication after watching that one.
I mean, hey, what was the one problem? What was the one thing I said they struggled with on map 1 a little bit as well on Oasis? Being able to finish fights. They finished fights this map. That was the biggest thing. They built up a lot of space because of it, and they showed that they could beat that Wrecking Ball on the other side. And you really did see a lot of good plays coming out from that DPS line, which did make a huge difference to Sombra as well. Was a huge difference there for Iliad Artemis. And I'm really looking at the stats here for this map. And Hunter, I mean, if you stare at these, you are questioning how Iliad won this map. Because the DPS line combined for 21 eliminations on side of Artemis. Emote down mid, they combined for 40. Iliad Artemis, though, when they took advantage of a lot of their fights, that was the biggest thing. When they won, they took a lot of advantage, pushing up the cart very, very far. And Emote down mid, they were kind of casually just kind of backing out of fights, letting everyone regroup, and that really did seem to hurt them. I mean, the biggest thing that we talked about was Cardiff on that Wrecking Ball really being able to cause a lot of problems for Artemis. They played a very passive game when they weren't pushing the cart. They were always kind of falling back to regroup with their team rather than trying to maybe spin on that cart for a little bit just to stall it out, which might have hurt them there. But hey, they almost came back and won that map, so it almost ended up working out for them. But like you said, 2 straight nights, man. Map 5.
You know, I can't be mad in the slightest. I'm immensely happy to see it come down like this once more. I was afraid for Artemis because at the end of the day, obviously, you lose that fight with the EMP. Becomes a really unfortunate situation where it's a struggle to kind of bounce back. But you saw them take the earlier aggression. They didn't just wait for the point to be, a couple of meters away from being capped, because at that point, you can't let that happen if the enemy team has mines. So I like the fact they went for it. I like the fact that you found the best target possible to hit with a pulse bomb, who was in midair and unfortunately just couldn't reliably be hit with the cleanse. So, like I said, works out beautifully. But now you've got one more map ahead of you, and everyone watching knows Ilios is going to be the last map. So no potential at a tie here, ladies and gentlemen. It will get settled here, but the question is what our bans are going to be.
Well, Emote down mid gets first ban.
Ooh.
This is both a really, really good ban and probably a protection ban coming out here if they do want to play the Wrecking Ball. D.Va is going to be their ban here. And, hey, we have been seeing the tank there for Artemis just find so much value on it. It's not necessarily a big shock that they are banning out the D.Va here. I mean, Maverick has done a great job throughout this entire series. Died the least amount of anyone there that last map for Artemis. Only died 4 times. I think that was a big reason why, or my bad, I'm looking at the wrong map stats. But yeah, no, I can still say it. They only died 4 times last map. A big reason why they probably ended up winning that map.
Yeah, I would very much agree on that situation right there. And now I'm curious to see how it's going to go down, because we do know what our last ban is going to be now, and it's the Tracer that's being taken care of, which Tracer has been a character we've seen so prevalently throughout the entirety of this series, and now I imagine both of the DPS, at least the one on both sides, is just going to commit to that Freya now.
Yeah, I mean, it's been weird. We haven't seen Freya a lot this series, and that's a rare thing to say at this moment in Overwatch, because Freya is, and rightfully so, a little bit busted. But, I mean, we're going to be starting out here on Ruin, so, hey, we talked about Freya. What a great map to start out on, to see Freya come out on, heading in this one here. But it looks like no big subs coming in for either side, and honestly, I think that's the right way to go if you're both sides. Don't bring in anyone else here. The two teams have looked very, very good. Even with Emote down mid losing that last map, they almost ended up coming back and having a really, really good push there in overtime to win that one, but ended up falling just short. But you see, Cardi fan, you know they're coming on that Wrecking Ball. Pain Care going to be there on that Somber to try to hack them up. But Maverick, first time of the night, we are seeing the Hazard come out. I like the pick there from Maverick. Cardi fan teasing us maybe with a Doomfist, Julia. I think at this moment, Hunter, I mean, these two teams might not necessarily like the Freya pick that much. I mean, you see him going for other stuff here.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case right here. Hazard and Doomfist is extremely interesting right here, as we get at least one Freya in the situation, but Julia and Danny just feeling reliant enough on the Sojourn and the Genji respectively to make it happen. To be fair, they have both performed very well throughout the entirety of the series, but it's Pain Care once again. We saw a lot more of them in that 4th map. Need to really see it on the 5th map as Maverick gets essentially kicked off the map, and that is not the way you want to get this one started.
Yeah, and it's basically curtains for that first fight right there. Maverick getting knocked out, followed by Mardox. Not necessarily how you wanted to go, and oh, Pain Care just able to escape with their life right there as Cardi fan dove for them in that backline. But right now, look at what Emote down mid is doing here. They're just taking space, really trying to force Artemis into bad spots right now, and trying to force maybe Maverick into a very, very bad spot with one of those slashes.
Yeah, 100%. And for the time being, Maverick hanging around, just waiting for a good opportunity, because you would love to get to this backline somehow. But Cardi fan is going to essentially do everything possible to stop that from happening. Going to try to find some level of assassination. But Cardi fan, after all of that, still sitting at full health right here, as 30% and counting already. And you just can't find anything of Artemis.
No, and I mean, the one time we saw a hack come out on the card defense, it was immediately cleansed there by Gorilla, so that's going to be something you're going to have to watch out through this entire map as well. But Marduk's finding Danny, getting rid of that backline pressure should allow a lot more space here for Artemis to breathe.
Yeah, 100%, and with those connections, like eventually going to see the point flip over at 47% right there. No ults expended, but Kitsune Rush is going to be online, and you can see Artemis is actually farther ahead in a majority of the ults right now.
Yeah, but you start looking at the ultimates that really win fights here, and Emote down mid is in a much better spot, especially with Julia and how they've been playing with their overclocks this entire series. I would expect them to at least find one, and right now the tanks kind of matching each other here at the moment.
Yeah, very much are for the time being, and you know, I don't hate it at the end of the day. Kitsune Rush, though, going to be used right here. Marduk has theirs online, going to activate it directly afterwards. Cleanse thrown onto Maverick, who's sitting dangerously low. Maverick and Marduk both just struggling to stay alive. You saw trying to find something. Downboard comes alive right here. It's going to be a beat that's keep everybody alive momentarily. You're going to find a bunch of stuff onto Pauline, who's going to be taking down Danny, though. Going to try to keep their team going right here. Blade trying to find something, eventually gets booped away right here. While Pinker does eventually die, the value ends up being found, and unfortunately, Maverick essentially in a 1v1 that is not going to go their way.
Industrial now, they're just going to stall for as long as they can, and I mean, yeah, give them some credit there, 56%. Not that bad, but I mean, a lot of ultimates invested there, but you look at what Emote down mid has. They have their overclock and they have their meteor strike from Cardifan. That's going to be big here because the only thing that you see Artemis have is an EMP, which, I mean, hasn't found a lot of value sometimes, but if they focus on Cardifan, it might be able to get them out early.
Yeah, and you're seeing for the punch right there, going to try to get out alive, and looks like they will. Unfortunately, Duck on Quack just not get out alive. Danny going to get hacked out, and Maverick, hello?
Okay, that's a costly mistake right there early on, but there's another thing going on here. Danny's been in this backline a lot, just trying to either just be a pest to the supports or really focusing on a Duck on Quack, and I like this kind of playstyle coming out from Emote down mid. They want to make the Freya's life a living hell, and they're doing a really good job of it so far.
Yeah, and Cardifan is so disgusted at the Sombra, uses the ult to get out of a simple hack. Gets EMP'd directly upon hitting the ground anyway, and now still got to get a touch on this point right here, but it's not happening, is it?
Nope, they get one late there, but it won't really matter unless Maverick's able to pull off some heroic play, but I just don't think there's enough for them there, especially into a 1v5. So, Emote down mid, now one sub-map away from taking this series and moving on 2-0 in the season. But it's kind of the same things where we were looking at throughout this entire series. Iliad Artemis, it just didn't seem like they were really doing enough there, especially with communication. Danny was just getting in the backline and causing so much problems there that a Duck on Quack was not able to focus on someone like Cardifan or on that backline. They were always having to deal with staying alive from Danny. Industrial and Marduk's had to do the same thing. Just make sure Danny wasn't taking them out. Cardifan played an excellent Doomfist. You saw him maybe tease the Wrecking Ball right there, but went straight back over to the Doomfist. And honestly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you're Maverick, though, I mean, you can't play the Diva. It's banned out. Maybe Ramatra if you truly want to change it up here, but looks like they're going to stick with the Hazard here, who, I mean, found value at times, but necessarily wasn't the best that you were truly hoping for.
Yeah, and the question is whether or not it's really going to find anything here, because now Julia has gone over to that Sombra to match Painkare right here. So double Sombra on the scene this time around as gonna get forced out pretty immediately as Maverick literally can't go anywhere without just Cardifan being directly around the corner waiting to respond.
It is a 3v1 in that small room, and somehow Maverick's able to escape it, but they are very low on health. Duck and Quack actually be able to find out Julia is a huge pick, and now if you are this Artemis squad, you need to take advantage of it, get this first point cap, and then find the fight win after it.
Yeah, Cardifan to be able to live through all that once again right now. No one seems to know they're up there quite yet, but I think Maverick has found out pretty quickly. As, like I said, we'll be able to take the reset.
No ultimates coming up here very early on, but again, Duck and Quack having some freedom to kind of do what they want to do was a godsend that last fight for them. But Painkare, oh, that's a knuckle sandwich you don't want to eat.
That's so unfortunate to be able to simply block out the charged shots like that and get another punch ready to go right now. Gonna throw it right into the face of Maverick, who goes into the hole temporarily, but gets directly back out as Marduk and Industrial both getting a bunch of pressure, but Danny gets sent away with ease right here. As unfortunate scenario here for Emote down mid. They're trying desperately to win this fight, but unfortunately they just have to back out again.
Yeah, they have to back out, but ultimates are coming online here for both sides. Gorilla has this Kitsune ready to go here, but you do not invest it here early on. I just don't think you really have anything here just yet. You want to use it when you have another ultimate to kind of play with. But you look at the side of Artemis, they have 3-4 ultimates coming up here, and the bullet shot already out.
Yeah, it gets solo used on the Pauline, which works out momentarily, but doesn't necessarily end it right here. Still a 3v4. It's still technically winnable if you're willing to invest right here, but already Industrial struggling a bit, but Maverick has found another, and it looks like it's going to work out. 70% and counting, one fight away from taking this the complete distance.
It's like Maverick heard what I said about how they played that first point. They are playing a very, very excellent, or a very good second point here. A really good bounce back performance from them here. But you look at Emote down mid, they're about to come up to all 5 of their ultimates. Granted, this could be final fight territory here if you end up losing it, so you want to use those ultimates now if you are them.
100%, and Julia gets all the pressure in the world, and no EMP going to be on the scene here. An unfortunate set of circumstances right here is eventually need to start thinking about some touches. Going to eventually kick Martov off the map right here. Going to eventually pull down Cardifan, who doesn't have a block yet. But still, the fight's very much in their favor. And in fact, I think they've got this, Dex.
They got it, and Pauline did not need to invest the EMP, who it didn't hit onto anyone. It only went onto them as they were rotating to the backside of the point to try to get a back cap there. It ended up working out for them, but that was 4 of their ultimates gone. They're actually no, only 3. Danny never used the blade because they didn't build up to it. They're in a really good spot right now because Julia died early and Danny never had the blade. They could combo that here early on, get a team fight win here, and try to even out this ultimate economy here. As you do see, the only thing that maybe Artemis will have is an EMP of their own, but a 4-man EMP is huge.
And that's beautiful. You saw Cardifan just save the charge pun throughout all of that. And it just went in and just took care of business. So that's going to be a really quick fight. But the bright side is now, if you're at Artemis, if you're tracking right, you know they got no ults on the board.
They got no ults, but what was the problem map 1? Finishing fights. And right now, all they need to do is be able to finish one fight off, and they will win this map here. Danny, though, you see him just hacking, trying to get in on Duck and Quack. The EMP out from Painkare. Yeah,
again, it only finds one. Luckily, it does find a recipient right here, so you got the advantage with the 4v3. Gonna try to escape right now if you are Danny right here as, hoping to find something in this scenario. Can't find a retouch, though, so just right now just trying to find the assassin. Danny, literally one, is struggling to get away. Unfortunately, that's a little unfortunate, but to be fair, it was very quickly falling out of their favor. But Dex, hey, we get to go the absolute distance this time.
I mean, hey, these two teams have been giving us a series. Why not go to a winner-take-all point? And Lighthouse is going to be the location. Honestly, Hunter, I could not think of a better map, mostly because of how fun it is just to play around the point with what these two teams are really playing here. You look at the side of Emote down mid, you have 2 heroes over there that could, you know, knock you off the map for environmental kills. Maverick, the leap, could get you a little bit, but you're really looking at Industrial to find some environmental kills, which I'm going to guarantee you we at least see one this round, but no big swaps coming out from anyone this time around other than 2 of the DPS is swapping over to Symmetra to get TPs out and then right back over to what they were playing, and Cardifan already to the point. Same thing, though, for Maverick and the rest of Artemis.
Yeah, and it all comes down to this. This is going to be a very important few fights coming up. You're trying to move up to 2-0, stay undefeated throughout the first week right here, and Painkare literally got out at the moment they needed to without getting caught. But Point going to unlock in a few seconds here right now as Painkare is honestly just struggling to even stay alive.
I mean, they're putting a lot of focus on this Sombra for good reason. And right now, goodbye Industrial. There's your environmental kill.
Yeah, as we were waiting for on a map like this right here, but still Point very close to staying in Artemis' favor right now. But you see right now, all the pressure of just Cardifan staying around the point, just hanging around, could eventually have its due diligence, but unfortunately it doesn't. So, Iliad Artemis going to start out with the point.
And that jagged wall is going to become a big problem this map and this map in particular because the point is so small and it's so close quarters that it's going to be able just to find so much value here. If you're Cardifan, I think you might have to start considering making a swap off of the Doomfist here unless you're finding a lot of value with it here. Now, though, Painkare, again, just having a big problem this map, just struggling to keep at least above 50% right now, but they're playing with Maverick, which I think is a really great way to start, but you lose Mardox.
Yeah, Mardox ain't taking an early sucks because now you're not going to have a consistent rush, and at this point, you're down to the 4v3 unless you find a miracle shot here. You don't want to have to invest anything, and in fact, they're not going to have anything to invest right here as Maverick's going to go in with Industrial, going to die together as comrades should, as 40% going to be on the board with ults coming up vastly for both sides.
Yeah, but if you are Artemis here, you have ultimates sooner than what Emote down mid have. You'll have your downpour, you'll have your Katsuna Rush, you'll have a Bolo. I think you need to play speed, and that's the name of your game here. You wait a second, you're going to have Julia build up to that overclock like they have, and Gorilla going to have their own Katsuna Rush, and Cardifan not that far away from a Meteor Strike at the moment. Hasn't found a lot of value so far, but Julia, they are coming alive here at a time where their team desperately needs them to.
Yeah, 100%. So, gonna be shutting down this fight right here. Cardifan thought about going in, but thought a little bit better. But the fact they're still in, it's a 4v5. Consider Rush is in, means they're going to invest, but that investment might be short-lived right here. Cardifan gonna be able to get out right now. I'm not sure if that pulled down anybody at the end of the day, and it looks like they're just throwing in ultimates. Unfortunately, none of them are really getting any intended, results.
It's not, and Pancare not going to be able to escape as well. You do see Emote down mid taking the lead here now, and they have both their DPS ultimates pulling not that far away from their own beat. Right now, the only thing that Artemis has is, well, the beat and the Bolo shot, not that far away from the EMP as well. The EMP from Pancare needs to be able to really win them a fight here the moment it pops off, because if you do see Emote down mid survive the early part of it, they're going to be able to survive the entirety of it and come back and win the team fight.
Yep, and now Julia again!
Julia!
Again, gonna find the opening pick, and now Belade from Danny gonna try to chase down Industrial right now. Unfortunately, that chase might not be best served. But B gonna be expended right here. Nearly gets punched out of it, but barely manages to get it on, and that barely note that I just had is what's gonna give them right here. If that was a punch that knocked them out with an Ajax, that might have been the game right there.
Yeah, but right now, you need to find one more there. You need to find Cardifan or Gorilla right there if you were Artemis. But you saw the EMP coming up here. The beat on the other side, you might be using that just to counter out the beat here. But, I mean, you've seen them use them early on just to try to get rid of Cardifan, which is never a bad idea here.
Yeah, EMP's gonna go out. It's gonna catch on to 2 right now. Unfortunately, down the line, Pauline does not pull the trigger on the ult, though, and eventually we're gonna see everybody fall down. Danny, last one alive right here, and Dex, with this fight coming up online right here, oh no.
Guys, kill Danny. Kill Danny.
Please.
Kill Danny. Thank you. Okay, that's a huge stagger right there, but Danny almost actually took out some of that support line. The lead now going back over into Artemis' hands here. Beat's still ready, though, but they're finding picks. A duck on Quack, getting rid of Julia, who's been a problem.
Yeah, and now Cardifan going down means that your reliable touch is no longer there, which means Pauline's gonna hit the beat just to keep everybody alive in the moment there. Just keep everybody going, but now 93% and counting. A touch needs to come by, and Dex, I don't know who's gonna get it.
Who has the rollout? Someone
They're
needs to get
hacked.
there. Danny gets denied. There's Pauline getting there, and now you're seeing them all fall one by one. Is there a miracle here for Emote down mid?
There is not, ladies and gentlemen. They make it happen. Iliad Artemis gonna take the squad down, win it in map 5 fashion, coming down essentially to the final fight right there, but it's a clutch one at the end of the day. They take that aggression, they send it to the umph degree at the very end, and it works out beautifully.
Yeah, and this was the first time all series long that one team won 2 maps in a row. Oh, man, this was exactly what you were looking for here if you were Iliad Artemis. Emote down mid, they played an incredible map there. It just wasn't enough at the end, and I think it was a big difference there in those final couple fights. The fact that Julia was taken out first, I think in that second to or that last true engagement really helped Artemis, because Julia, they were popping off that final sub map, and honestly that final map in general. They have been doing such a great job on the Soj, and they were picking the Soj over the Freya, which we saw Duck on Quack find some value there towards the end. Actually got rid of, I believe, Julia there to open up that final engagement, and that was a difference maker there. Getting rid of Julia, who was having a heater of a map.
I mean, just 100% was, and that's an unfortunate situation to come that close, but honestly, if there's an MVP from that side, I think you would have to consider it to be Julia. The one person I think that was super consistent throughout all 5 points. I think Cardifan certainly did a lot, but the value started to become hit and miss as the series kind of kept going on. But at the end of the day, it goes to show how tight it really is between a bunch of these teams right here. Remember that potentially 2 of the teams that we have seen already could be 2 of those teams that go and compete in that 3rd stage with an opportunity to move forward. The opportunity is 100% there, and that's what these teams are playing for at the end of the day, the chance to get into OWCS, and clearly, Iliad Artemis thinking they got a good shot at it.
Yeah, and I mean, again, another map 5 series here for a lot of these teams in their second showing of this season already. And I mean, it was Iliad Artemis who played Uni Academy, I believe it is. Yeah, Uni Academy in their first game. of the season and ended up winning that one 3-1. So, I mean, I don't think there's been a lot of sweeps here in this Masters tier, which is what you really expect. A lot of these teams have really, really good players, ones that just missed out on being in OWCS or were in OWCS last season or last stage. So you're looking at teams that are trying to get back up to the pinnacle here. And so far, from what we've seen, Hunter, we've seen 4 incredible teams. And sadly, we've had to see 2 lose.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate scenario. Is not every team is going to get to that playoff contention to even have an opportunity to get in. You do need to have a set amount of wins to be able to even have the opportunity. And even at the end of the day, you then have to go take on the 2 teams that whoever it is that drop out of the top 8 for OWCS. You know, and that in itself can be a struggle. But as we saw from the first relegation tournament, you know, every team pretty much switched sides, but you never know in the situation. But either way, we know their next matches. I know Iliad Artemis is going up against Dill Dragons next week, but as for where are you? Where can I find you? Do you see it, Dex? Because I do not see them at the moment.
I'm looking it up.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it.
Emote down mid actually plays Dreamland next.
Ooh.
Next Thursday.
That
should be a really fun game.
That would be a very fun game. Too bad I'm going to be out of the city for a while. But I mean, you'll call Megalass up, kid. Get somebody in here. You know, go for it. You never know.
Maybe I do it on my own. Maybe I got someone in. But hey, I mean, Hunter, we have been really, really blessed with a lot of great action this week. I mean, 2 straight map 5s. The one South American game we had went 4. That one was really fun to watch against. Go support that South American region as much as you possibly can as well. But here in this NA Masters tier, I mean, you're going to be looking at a lot of teams that even if a team's like 0-3, you really cannot count them out because of how many map 5s we've seen just in the past couple days. You're going to have to assume that those teams have at least played 1, maybe 2 map 5s.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point where perhaps most teams have already done so, which is brilliant. It's a good way to kind of figure out a litmus test of, hey, how do we perform when we get to that pressure where it's very much do or die? So it's exciting to see that happen. Exciting to see the fact that so many teams are so tightly contested, and it's not just simply a 2 or 3 horse race. It's very clear that every team for the moment has a grand opportunity. But hey, at least for the time being, we got things taken care of here at Dex, and hey, another map 5, another great game. I'm curious to see what the other games were like, but also it's a Friday, so I think this was the only NA game in Master that was being played today, with the exception of like maybe one other, but
I think there was one other that started at 9 o'clock.
I believe so as
so it started about 30 minutes ago.
Gotcha, but for the time being, that means there's only, for the moment, 3 undefeated teams left. Could be a 4th, depending on how Boop Trip does. But that's Iliad Artemis, that's Midori, and Reagan that are currently undefeated at 2-0. And hey, I mean, hey.
Yeah.
English is a fun language. It's awesome. To be 2-0 right out the gate.
Yeah, and that's exactly how you want to start off. You want to start off banking up some wins early on, so if you end up losing one maybe halfway through the season, you still have a lot of good performances to show. But I can tell you this, it's Sienna Heights and Dill Dragons going up against each other right now in the other series of the night, and Dill Dragons and them are tied 1-1. I think probably halfway through map 3 at the moment. So I hope there's someone streaming that one, because that should be a really, really fun series.
I know that Bolskog is doing the Dill Dragons match, but I don't know if anyone's doing that one.
That is the Dill Dragons match. If Bolskog is streaming,
it is the Dill Dragons match. So that might be what I'm looking to watch after this.
Yeah, that Bolskog is streaming that one. So I mean, Hunter, I think we're gonna be raiding him again here tonight.
Yeah, that'll probably be the case right here. But either way, we appreciate y'all being here once again today. Ends up being a really good match. We're going to figure out what we're going to be doing next week, because unfortunately I'm out of town for a lot of next week, but I know at least up until Wednesday I'm very much available, so obviously you'll hear from us if we pick up more matches, because I think it's very much our plan to where if we could pick up back-to-back series for Tuesday, I imagine that's going to be the plan, but obviously y'all will know when we know, because we're probably going to plan after this. But either way, thank y'all for coming out tonight. We appreciate y'all. Make sure you go and keep watching all the amazing co-streams that have been going on around us as well. They've been doing a fantastic job. Make sure just to keep supporting the scene. keep watching OWCS. Obviously, we're back tomorrow afternoon with the NBA starting us out. So thank y'all for being here. Thank y'all for supporting Overwatch. We hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next time.